Hey guys, Jonathan here, and today we're going to take a look at every LEGO Superheroes Big Fig ever from Marvel and DC. This goes all the way back to the original Hulk in 2012, and we'll work our way up to present day. In the comments, let me know which of these is your personal favorite, and also which ones you might have in your collection. This is going to be so much fun to break down, and I've got a lot of work ahead of me, so let's get right into breaking down the history of LEGO Superheroes Big Figs. The Big Fig journey kicks off in 2012 with the first Avengers movie, where we got the first ever LEGO Superheroes Big Fig in the Hulk. Now, he does have his kind of tan pants on here, because that is what Banner is wearing in the movie at the point that he turns into the Hulk for the scene, and we're not going to go over the posability of every figure because it's basically the same. The legs are in a fixed position where they have a 2x3 receiver on each foot. Then, of course, we have the arms that move side to side because they're held in with a Technic pin, and the arms can move at the wrist joint as well on both sides, and the hands are removable as their own individual piece. It wouldn't be years until we could remove the hair and the headpiece like we can now in the modern day, so I'll point out the developments as we go through. But the original Hulk is definitely awesome. As you can see, the entire body is one piece. That'll be important here in a little bit as we watch the development grow. But this was the very first Superheroes Big Fig and one of the first LEGO Big Figs in general. So a really cool piece here and a great place to start. In 2014, we then got another Big Fig Hulk, so they took a year off in 2013, and this time it was the classic comic book style Hulk, but this is really from the old Avengers Assemble cartoon. This time, of course, he has his iconic purple pants, which was definitely awesome, and this is still one of my favorite Hulk Big Figs. Now, comparing it to the one that had come out just before, you can see we do have a different facial expression, but beyond that, the figure is basically the same outside of the purple pants this time. You'll also notice that his toes are slotted here. It's actually a part of the figure's mold, which is interesting, and the body is still one large piece, as it were. That same year, we also got the Green Goblin from Ultimate Spider-Man, and this is certainly one of the minifigures of all time. You'll notice that his legs are in the opposite standpoint, where this leg is further ahead, so that's kind of interesting. The toes are also slotted here, but we also got exclusive arms for this that could only be used on this figure, and in fact, everything on this figure, aside from the hands, were completely exclusive. So this is definitely a very unique take of the Green Goblin, honestly probably one of my least favorite takes ever, but it is interesting to exist in LEGO form as a Big Fig and definitely makes him pretty rare and desirable, all things considered. 2015 brought us the Age of Ultron Hulk, this time having that olive green skin tone that we just saw on Green Goblin, and debuting that new arm piece in olive green, which is quite cool. He does have purple pants with the Avengers, logo printed there, and some other nice printing to give it some depth. Then, of course, you'll see that the toes are not molded into the figure this time. Rather, they're just printed on the front of the foot, which is cool. And you'll also notice this line right above his chest there that continues all the way onto the back. That way, this top head part could be removed, and it could be swapped out for other figures as we go along. That might not make a ton of sense now, but pay attention as we unveil these next several figures, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about there. 2015 brought us our first ever LEGO DC Big Figure, and while there weren't DC Big Figs around for a long time, it was a generational run. The very first one here is Darkseid, and this is so cool because he's got those blue boots printed on there, which look absolutely great. And then as we move up the torso, you can see that his armor is kind of broken and cracked. Overall, it just looks so cool. This is the first and only time in the LEGO Superheroes lineup we would get these light bluish gray arms, which look great, and they have that blue printing around the shoulder, and it's the only time we'd get blue hands from a Big Fig in the LEGO Superheroes lineup. So overall, this figure is absolutely awesome. It came with the Justice League Javelin in 2015, and I think it's among the best here overall. Like I said, DC was just on a generational run because here we have Gorilla Grodd, who came in Gorilla Grodd Goes Bananas from LEGO DC, and this figure is so unique. Remember how we were talking earlier about the cut right above the chest there? Well, this allowed LEGO to give us a very unique gorilla head with the pointy fur head there. He's of course got all of the printing on the face, a uniquely molded gorilla head as well that looks great, and even the way the torso is printed with the fur and the gorilla chest just looks so awesome, and overall this figure is one of the absolute best here. Again, there weren't a ton of DC Big Figs, but when they did make them, oh my gosh, did they absolutely rock. 2016 brought us our first ever comic book Thanos, and this one is super, super cool. As you can see here, he actually has these little brick-built flyer pieces he goes on. Since I just happened to have it handy, I thought I would include it, but, you know, it's not essential to the big fig itself. So let's go ahead and remove those. I guess it's easier said than done, kind of came apart in my hand there. But this one is cool too. Just like we saw on Darkseid before, this Thanos has boots printed, as you can see with the gold there that look really great. And overall, this one is really cool. The shoulder armor that's used here with the gold would be used on the next Thanoses we see coming up in just a few years' time throughout this showcase. This video isn't going to be a few years long. But anyways, with it being our first Thanos, a lot of people were disappointed we didn't get an Infinity Gauntlet with this one. But you have to remember that this was based off of the Avengers Assemble cartoon. And the episode or the series that, you know, he was pulled from, he didn't have the Infinity Gauntlet. So we'd have to wait just a little bit longer before we'd see a gauntlet. In fact, about 2 years. So we'll get there when we get there, but let's keep moving forward. In 2016, we also got Killer Croc, one of the most desirable big figs of all of them, just because it's so cool. As you can see, they were able to give him, like, his crocodile scales going up his spine to his head. He's got a very, very frightening face. Honestly, probably the scariest big fig of any in this entire lineup. And I really like the way that they did, like, the torn pants as well as the kind of scaly-looking torso. Overall, this one's really nice. It does use that olive green color scheme that we see on like a lot of the Hulk figures, so it was a creative way for LEGO to go ahead and not have to make new arms, since the Hulk from Age of Ultron the year before is exactly the same color, so they could just reuse the arms and hands. But overall, this one is really, really nice, and I would say it's up there with my favorites, but the other Killer Croc that they made is pretty cool too. But we'll get there in all good timing. In 2017, we got one of the only LEGO superhero sets that came with 2 big figs in the same set. And of course, this one was the Hulk versus Red Hulk, and it was a pretty overpriced set as far as piece count goes, but considering we got 2 big figs in one set, it's definitely elevated to legendary status. We got this very interesting lime green Hulk here that has green hair. It's the only Hulk ever to have green hair, for that matter. You'll notice that they went back to his feet having the toe slots kind of built into the mold there, but Red Hulk from the exact same set does not have toes, but it's very fascinating how they did that. I'm not really sure how they ended up at that equation, but if you look at the Hulk here, he uses that regular 2012 Hulk body style that doesn't have, like, the head chiseled out, but the original one, or excuse me, the Red Hulk here, as you can see, does have the torso chiseled out. So I kind of feel like this use of this Hulk figure was kind of the last hurrah for that mold. Maybe LEGO wanted to try and keep it around, because if you don't know, the way LEGO molding works is if a mold isn't used for 5 years, then it goes away forever. The rule's been broken here and there, but that's just a good general rule of thumb. So maybe LEGO wanted to put that mold in one more time in case they wanted to use it, but spoiler alert, it actually never would get used again, so I don't know, that's just kind of a theory, a film theory. Anyways, the Red Hulk here is really cool. It was our only big fig Red Hulk until Captain America Brave New World, when that set came out in 2024, so very, very fascinating, but overall great figures and legendary by today's standards. Having been in the fandom for years, I would say an easy fan favorite is the Gladiator Hulk from Thor Ragnarok in 2017. This is an incredible figure with his one arm having the armor here with that giant blue piece and, of course, the protector there. We also got some brick-built weapons for him to battle Thor with, and he also has black pants this time around. But, of course, the most interesting thing here is the Roman-style Gladiator helmet that just looks so good. And he even has some, you know, printing on the torso there, which looks great. I always wondered, like, you see how, I don't know if it's a tattoo, it's more of war paint, but why is the war paint going over top of whatever he's wearing there? That never really made a lot of sense to me, but oh well. Maybe it's like that in the movie. It's been a while. I don't really know. But anyways, as you'll see, this will be the final time that Hulk has the toe prints slotted into the mold, which is kind of interesting because as you can see, they just added the helmet to the old mold somehow, because it doesn't have, like, the line in the middle of the back. So it's just kind of an interesting transitional Hulk big fig here. I don't know if anybody's ever really looked into this in as much detail as I have for this video, but regardless, it is a timeless one and one of the best of the entire lineup. In fact, I'd say the next 2 are among the best as well. So let's get into that. Alright folks, here he is, Killer Croc from the Lego Batman movie. This one almost defies what it is to be a big fig because it is so large and so unique. He uses these really interesting finger pieces here, and even the hand pieces that were used on the Rancor from Lego Star Wars at the time. And what's so fascinating about that is you actually could put a minifigure in the hand and have a big fig like this hold it. It's like actually sculpted to fit a minifig, as you can see. So that's kind of interesting. But this uses so many pieces. As you look around, you'll see like the nails, the fingers, the hands, the chains. There's so many pieces built into this, but the head is actually completely posable where you could push it up and you could push it down, and the mouth can open and close too. It's like the old crocodile and dragon heads from the 90s from Lego. And as you can see, he's got a tail in a fixed position in the back. He's got studs on the feet. They're really, really cool. And he's a little tricky to line up. Not saying it's rocket science. It's just kind of like, I don't know, it's just a little tricky. But I love the way that the pants are molded. He's got the belt on. Just overall, this figure is absolutely amazing. There's hardly anything like it in the entire Lego catalog, let alone, of course, here in the Big Fig comparison. Ah, yes, I was wondering when we'd get to the Bane figure. This is the 2017 Lego Batman movie Bane, and this one is so cool too. He had uniquely molded arms so that you could put the tubes of venom directly in there with that stud. Nothing is really posable as far as like the head is concerned, just the arms and the wrists as you'd imagine, but he does have a brick-built backpack here with the toxin, which looks great. And overall, this is so cool. Look how the legs are molded with the boots, and he's even got like the cargo pockets on the side. The big collar looks great. The, chest area looks great too. The mask is absolutely awesome. And I would say this probably looks the least like a minifig. Well, maybe with the exception of Killer Croc we just looked at, but it does look awesome overall, and it is absolutely one of my all-time favorites here. Tough to beat, too. This is how I see Bane from the comics, and they just translated it for the Lego Batman movie in 2017 so well. And in 2018, for Infinity War, we got our first ever MCU Thanos. This one is so cool, and as you can see, he's got an Infinity Gauntlet here where we can pull that tab out, and we actually got a regular purple hand for all 6 seconds of the movie where he didn't have the gauntlet on. But I do like that for play reasons, Lego made the gauntlet able to be detached. As you can see, it just attaches with that black Technic pin here. And if you weren't collecting Lego at the time, you actually had to get every single Infinity War set to collect all of the Infinity Stones. In fact, they didn't put all the stones in one set for quite some time after that, so you really did have to get them all or trade with your friends, and it was just a great time to be a fan. That being said, he does have torso printing here, and as you'll notice, they used the same shoulder piece here with the helmet and everything from that original Thanos, so they were definitely planning ahead a couple years at the time, I would have to imagine, when that first Thanos came out in 2016. Overall, they definitely have improved Thanos, especially considering he really doesn't wear this head armor very much at all in Infinity War. Ironically, he wore it more in Endgame, if I'm not mistaken, but regardless, it's still pretty cool and a nice inclusion here. Definitely nice to be the landmark first Thanos and memorable for that reason alone. I feel like Cull Obsidian gets forgotten about quite a bit, but he came in the Sanctum Sanctorum Showdown from Infinity War in 2018 as well. He had a uniquely molded shoulder piece here that actually is a part of the body that hangs over top the arm here. We also got this very interesting color scheme here. I'm actually not sure what color that is, but it's the only time it was ever used on a figure in the LEGO Superheroes Big Fig lineup. He also had these brick-built like little hammer things there connected by a chain, and overall this is a really nice figure. He is one of Thanos' children, and like I said, I just feel like people forget about this figure a lot. So it's a really great one, and definitely included in this lineup. 2019 gave us the Endgame Final Battle compound set, and that gave us this version of Hulk, which really isn't accurate to the movie at all, because he's Smart Hulk for pretty much most of the movie, and he's never really quite shirtless like this, except for the Avengers Back in Time part of it, but even then, he's not wearing this color pants, so I think LEGO just kind of had their hands tied and they didn't really know what to do with him. Anyways, the face probably is the best Mark Ruffalo likeness up to this point. I think it looks great. It is nice to get some printing on those boy legs, but considering it's not super accurate to anything we saw in Endgame, it's kind of a mess, honestly. In fact, we're going to talk about that with another Hulk figure here in just a minute, but one thing to note is this is the first Hulk the regular Hulk, not counting like Red Hulk or anything like that, to not have any toe printing or the toes like actually slotted into the mold, and this will become the norm going forward for all future Hulks. So it's just kind of worth noting that we won't see the toes on figures ever again going forward. And here we have Endgame Thanos, who once again has the Infinity Gauntlet here, but the set he came in only came with 2 stones, so you would still need the rest of them from other sets or trading with friends or whatever the case may be. This is one of the first figures for LEGO Marvel that's a big figure to have arm printing. In fact, I think he is the first, unless you count like the unique molding on Green Goblin or Hulk. So as technicalities go on arm printing, it was new, but it does still use that same armored head style here. I do think that after having a year to work with it, that the Endgame one that's on the platform right now does look better than the Infinity War one, but as we all know, it will get better with time once the head becomes removable and posable. But overall, I thought that this was a really nice figure and definitely cool for the time. Now, we also got Hulk in his quantum suit, which I guess is decently accurate enough, but you know, he's in this for like 1 second in the movie, and I'm pretty sure his hand isn't exposed either, so that's a bit of a bummer. We did get an alternate hand that you could put on his right hand here, but this was the first and only time we ever got a Big Fig scale nano gauntlet, which of course I've added all the Infinity Stones to. It looks really great. I love that they put printing on it, and considering their regular Infinity Gauntlet is the opposite hand, this was a completely unique mold and looks absolutely great all around. But yeah, I think the most memorable thing about this figure is the fact that it came with the Nano Gauntlet and the fact that the set it came in didn't even happen in the movie. So, yeah, this one kind of gets clowned on. But if you want a complete collection, you gotta have it. So in 2020, in a 4+ set, Loki's Wrath, we got this Hulk here, which was actually the last time we'd ever get a Hulk that isn't based on the MCU, at least as of this video. In fact, it's the last time we got a Big Fig in general from LEGO Superheroes that wasn't based off of a movie, so that's kind of interesting trivia too. He does have these kind of like magenta pants here, and he goes back to the olive green skin tone that we've had for a while, so it definitely works well. It's a great comic stand-in Hulk, and it's probably the one that's closest to all of the Avengers cartoons that are on Disney+, so that's pretty cool as well. Overall, not much to say here. It's not like it was super groundbreaking, but it is a really nice figure, and I think it's one of the better comic representations overall. So Thanos got a huge upgrade as time has gone on, and he was the first figure to actually have a removable Big Fig head in the LEGO Superheroes lineup. We'll talk about that in a second, but I did want to show these side by side because I actually completely missed out on this. So the one on the left came out in 2021, and the one on the right came out in 2023, and as you can see, the bodies are exactly the same, but the facial expressions on the head are different, where he's grinning in 2021, and he's got his teeth gritted in a fighting, facial expression in 2023. We'll look at them individually still, but overall, they do look really great. So with this Thanos, as you can see, the arms are still posable, but the biggest thing is the fact that the head is now posable from side to side. And he has these studs on his back, which will appear on all of the Big Figs going forward from this point in time. So it is a really nice figure. And like I said, the 2023 one is exactly the same everywhere except for the head. So, I do think that both are pretty nice, and I would say most people would agree these are the best MCU Thanoses we've gotten to date. Now, in the Avengers Tower, we got this version of 2012 Hulk, and then the following year in 2024, we got this version. The only major difference, yet again, is the face print on them, where the Avengers Tower one has this confident grin, and the other one has an angry, open mouth expression. So we'll set him aside for just a second, take a look at the Avengers Tower one, because he has this giant hair piece, which is really, really cool. In fact, this actually can connect on a minifig, although it does look ridiculous, but the stud connection is exactly the same, so you could theoretically do that. Then as we move on, you can see that the head is posable from side to side, just like Thanos, because it uses that same mechanic. It does look really good, if I'm being real with you guys. I love the way that the pants are torn up here, and this, of course, is from the final battle of the movie, so whereas the original Hulk had the tan pants from when he breaks out of the helicarrier, by the time the final battle happens, this is a much more accurate representation, so that is quite awesome. And, of course, that takes us to the 2024 version, which is exactly the same in every every single way, with the exception of that new head, which we actually see on the next figure, which is the Age of Ultron Hulk, which came out in 2024 as well from that slow-mo set. And as you can see, it's exactly the same figure all around, except this time the pants aren't ripped up. They're the Age of Ultron style pants with the print on there, and he's got that angry expression from the 2024-2012 version of Hulk, to say that 10 times fast, but it technically is its own unique figure in that way. At the end of 2024, ahead of Captain America Brave New World, we got another Red Hulk. This, of course, is based off of Harrison Ford's interpretation of the character, and it looks really great. You know, he's got the black pants there with the ripped up edges, and then, of course, he's got that red color scheme. The head is removable and posable, too, just like you might expect. You've got that hairpiece on there that looks so great, and just to compare it to the original Red Hulk, as you can see, it is a night and day difference, with the original Red Hulk actually having sharp teeth and yellow eyes and very comic booky, but the pants are, I guess, kind of similar, but the original one is way more comic booky, and the newest one is definitely a lot more MCU based, as well it should be. And to kick off 2026 in the Epic Moments collection, LEGO made this version of the Hulk, which uses the same Age of Ultron body from the 2024 one, but he has these really interesting deep red possessed eyes from the Scarlet Witch. As you can see, the head is still posable and removable, and it still uses that same headpiece, but having those Scarlet Witch possessed eyes makes it so unique and so cool in its own right. Alright guys, be sure to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch you guys on the next video, and until next time, build on.